And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another week, another edition of ESL Open Cup Asia number 204. I'm, of course, host ZvP, and with me, I'm joined for now by the lovely people in the chat and by plushies. But I will be joined by a lovely foul co-caster. That doesn't sound right, but I'll be joined by a chicken later on in the evening. For now, we have our first matchup. For those that are curious, this is, of course, our weekly dose of Korean StarCraft every single week. ESL Open Cup Asia. I mean, we have one for every region, and this is the Asia variant. And here we go in the bottom left-hand corner of our Gyeone. We have one of the best Protosses in all of South Korea, representing Team Twisted Minds. It is Classic. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zerg player representing himself. It is DRG. The one true Dong himself. Let's go. We have our ZvP ready for us. I apologize for the delays to the tournament. Did start a little bit later than normal, but regardless, we are kicking things off. And again, some amazing players are here before us. Exclamation mark B in the chat if you guys want to have a look at the back of yourselves. Ooh, oh, actually, my apologies as I quickly do fix that up. Apparently the commands were not quite set, so I will get on top of that as quickly as I can. Did overlook that, but yeah, we're getting into so far a hatch gas pool, standard open out of DRG, for sake the unnatural natural. Likewise, classic going for a gate expand into the cyber core as well. Standard openers so far, nothing too crazy, nothing too cheesy to kick things off, as I quickly set up the commands into the chat. I know. Be a couple of moments. Brackets. Beautiful. And of course, we can go over the brackets once we do wrap up the series. Once we have a little bit of time to ourselves to kind of go over things and yeah, to kind of absorb the rest of the tournament. For now, though, we're getting into this, and we're just going to be made over towards the natural. Likewise, classic back at home. We have our tech of choice. Based on the positioning of the pylon, it is going to be a Stargate. Stargate opener here out of Classic. Going to be going, I imagine, Oracle first. As I say that, though, Classic has been very fond of Void Ray openers. Void Ray openers have been kind of the bread and butter from Classic over the past 2 weeks, maybe? A week and a half. Like almost every PvZ has incorporated Void Rays, and Classic, as we know, loves to incorporate a fast Tempest or even a fast carrier. Especially on this map, rushing into a fleet beacon is something that Classic is very fond of, and I'm sure he's going to do it at some point in this series. Whether he does it game 1, game 2, or game 3, yet to be determined. As for now, we are going for an Oracle first, not a Void Ray. Bear that in mind. Oracle is going to be zooming across the map. Ooh. Meanwhile, back here at the natural, we're just going to be getting back into our saturation here. Overlord not quite going in yet, just trying to get a read on what is happening, trying to get a read on any additional units that are on the way. Adept has arrived, does take down a Tumor. Not a bad pickoff. Tumor does go down. And DRG is still just trying to defend his bases. Hasn't lost anything yet, but things are soon to heat up here. Not just one Oracle, we're going for a second Oracle. We're going for a third base behind this. So Classic going for a standard opener here. Stargate into a third, into his follow-up tech. If he continues to play standard, this should be into a Twilight Council and a Forge to get into Blink Stalkers. But we'll see. We'll see what he does go for. As the Lynx have arrived and they are looking for the surround. Oh, they don't quite get it. Deb does barely slip on by. DRG gonna try and shut it down, gonna try and race it back home. Looks like he will. He will catch the Adept in the end. So not a bad pickoff. Very well done. Picking up the Adept, gonna be threatening the third base, forcing the Oracle to stay at home. First Oracle was across the map, but wasn't quite able to get much done. One worker kill before being zoned away, and actually taking quite a lot of hull damage. There's that transition. It is indeed the Twilight Council and the Forge. So as we mentioned before, pretty standard transition out of this. To get into +1, and I imagine Blink. Meanwhile, the Oracles, they have joined forces. 2 Oracles can one-shot workers. We have a third Oracle on the way, but the Queens are in position, and DRG just doesn't let Classic in. I'm trying to say just does not let Classic in. I just woke up, okay? I did. And there we go. Additional Oracles are going to be moving out. So meanwhile, back at home, DRG getting into his lair. This should be leading into a Roach Warren. The longer this goes on without a Roach Warren, it's looking more and more like Ling Hydra instead of Roach. We'll see. As we are nearing that halfway mark, we have the Oracles dipping in towards that third base as well. So far, no dice. So far, the Oracles, we still looking for damage, going for the stage trap into the main. Meanwhile, there is still no Roach Warren. It's looking like Ling Hydra. The other option, of course, is Mutas, if we do take all of our gases. And there it is. Gases are on the way. And no, it is going to be that Roach Warren. A bit of a later Roach Warren. The reason why I say that, usually, yeah, this is a bit of a misstep here from DRG. Oh, God! Stasis trap! Another goes off, catching the Queen. Denying a lot of mining time as we get another stasis trap as well. They just keep layering on top of each other. And another here towards the natural stats. Is that you? Catching 3 drones at the natural base. Not a bad pickoff here. Just being distracted. And again, DRG. No, another one. They just don't stop. Oh my god. And DRG, his Roach Warren was delayed. Ideally, you want the Roach Warren to finish up at the same time as the lair so you can start Roach speed. That's why I did point out that it was kind of weird to have it now. But clearly, like, he was just... his attention was being pulled apart by all the harassment, by all the Oracles, and it did kind of slip his mind for a moment. As a result, this Stalker timing is gonna be a little bit harder to defend. The Roach's Roach speed as well has been delayed. We have +1 range on the way, so it looks like we are going for a Roach heavy composition. Classic getting his 4th base. I'm running behind this. We are pushing on forward, clearing up quite a bit of creep here. 2 tumors go down. Oh, Blink isn't done. But we have the Oracles. We have the Oracles to support. Classic, he's perfectly fine. He backs the hell off. Saves all of his Stalkers, saves his Oracles, gets the hell out of there. And now Blink and +1 are done. +2 is on the way. We should be working towards charge behind this, I imagine, if we want to double down on a gateway heavy composition. But no, we're kind of pivoting away from this. We're going double Robo into Robotic Spade. This is double Robo Colossus production coming in from Classic. Still working on +2 and charge, don't get me wrong, but Colossi are on the way. Meanwhile, on the front line, Stalkers have reinforced, this time with Blink. Looking to try to find some damage here, trying to find a way in towards that third. DRG is now getting his 4th up as well. Slightly ahead in workers, 77 to the 70 of his opponents. But Classic is in a pretty good economic position overall. Now, something that I did notice is the Hydroden, and we see why. A Hydroden into Infestation Pit, into the Hive. We're getting to Lungers. DRG, he's going for a longer game here. Looks like he has recognized that if he did want to try to hit a timing with Roaches, like, it wouldn't really, or he kind of missed that earlier. On top of that, Alcyone is a more macro-oriented map. It's very easy to defend on 4 bases, and even 5 bases on this map. So DRG, he's aware of that. He's not going for a big 3-base all-in. Instead, he's just taking up, going towards the late game. So as DRG works towards Lurkers, Classic is working towards Colossi. I have to favor DRG a little bit here, just because, I mean, he should be able to get into Lurkers first. A lot of this will come down to how many Lurkers he has by the time Classic pushes out. How many Vipers does he have as well? Like, he has the tech to get into everything, but he still needs the economy. When it comes to Classic's push, I imagine we're going to be moving out with 4 Colossi. We're about to have 2, and then we're going to have a 3rd and 4th behind that, working towards charge at the same time. It's going to take a while for Classic to really move out, and by the time he does, yeah, we already have 6 Lurkers on the way. I do appreciate that DRG is getting into this now. There are some Zerg players that actually don't invest into Lurkers until they... as we're getting ready for run by, but they don't invest into Lurkers until they get the Hive upgrades. So I'm glad that we're getting into them preemptively, just to be safe, just to be secure. It's a very passive style here out of DRG. He's kind of allowing Classic to get away with saturating his 4th and getting a 5th. Like, Classic, he has been free to do anything he wants. But that's soon hopefully about to change, as DRG, he's waiting for the army to move out, and at the same time ready for a counterattack. He's got a Ling Roach Rumba on the left hand side, a Ling Roach Rumba on the right. The army of Classic looking to push through the middle here, but the Lurkers are ready for this. And again, here we go. The Stalkers have revealed themselves on creep, and now it's go time. Lings, they rush in towards that natural base. At the same time, the Ling Roach here towards the 4th. So far, Classic, he does turn back around. These counterattacks here from DRG not really finding much damage. He trades with the army, but Classic, he was close enough. He had reinforcements. He shuts this down. Forces back both prongs. A solid defense here from Classic. But at the same time, DRG has bought enough time to get into all these Lurkers. Now, I love the wherewithal here of Classic because he knows that, hey, if he wanted to try to kill his opponent with a ground toss army, he missed it. Second Stargate, Fleet Beacon is on the way. Immediately, Classic, he's working towards Sky Toss. He knows that he probably cannot end the game with this army, so he's already working on that next step. He's not being stubborn like other Protoss players have done in the past, where they want to commit and double down on ground toss and try to force the issue. No. Classic, he's aware of his limitations, and he's respecting DRG. Meanwhile, this Ling Roach run by does break through. The Cyber Core goes down. That will delay +1 air attack. Second Stargate's on the way. We are cleaning up the Lings and the Roaches, but we have more Lings coming in. Classic, he does have to warp in defensively back at home. The Lurkers have been revealed. Oh my god, so many spines. The Concave. How many Lunkers is that? 19! 19 Lunkers. Ay. At the same time, the Lings, they do break into the natural base. I apologize. Looks like every single worker went down. 16 probe kills. There was no, or there is no WCS game hard, so we have to count. So the entire mineral line did go down. DRG getting a lot of damage done across the map. Meanwhile, Classic rotating around, overextending a little bit here with one of his Colossus. Oh my god. Taking a lot of damage. At the same time, though, Classic pushing on forward here towards that third base. Does outposition those Lurkers for a moment, but he's still taking a lot of spines to the face. And he's losing too much, and here comes a surround. Oh my god. We're looking for it. We're looking for that surround. Lurkers from almost every angle. Ay. The flank even. As Classic is forced back at the same time, trying to expand here towards the south. This base is going to go down, but I mean, Classic isn't really too concerned with that. He's more concerned with establishing this gold. The extra Nexus will fall. And Classic, he's down at 20 workers. He couldn't break the front line here. He's now getting into Skytoss, but the problem is that Classic, he lost a lot getting here to Skytoss. He lost his mineral line. He lost Colossus as well. Colossus lost Immortals, lost a lot of his army, and now he's on the back foot. We do have the main army being distracted. At the same time, DRG is collapsing on the gold. The Lunkers, they're in position. There's no pushing into this. There's no way. Classic, he's zoned away from his gold base, and it's going to go down. At the same time, DRG pulling back on the left-hand side is going to be losing a couple of Lurkers here in the retreats, but he breaks the gold base. Again, crippling the economy here of Classic, containing him to 4 bases, and we can keep pushing, and we're going for a base trade. In a way, we're going for a base trade as DRG is going right for this Nexus. Classic, he's going to keep on pushing. And we have no Spire. Oh, no, sorry, we do. Corruptors are on the way. Boys are being pulled. They're evacuating, I should say. As we do have a Zealot run by on the right-hand side. Going to be taking down 2 hatcheries here of DRG. Likewise, DRG going to be pushing on forward towards the third. We are in full base trade mode. We need Lurkers defensively, but we don't really have too many. Most of them are across the map. Oh, without Lunkers. Yeah, we do see the army breaking on through. A wave of Lurkers just finished. 4 Lurkers just wrapped up. Trying to hold on to that ramp. Archon's breaking through. We ignore the natural. We go straight for the third instead. Meanwhile, DRG busting into the natural base of his opponents. So both people are going to be contained to 2 bases. As DRG loses his third, and he's about to lose his fourth. But DRG, he's breaking into the main, and he may just win via elimination. Do we have any probes? Oh, no probes. We recall back home. Tempest here towards the national. Do we have detection? We do. We have an observer coming in. Detection is available, and it looks like with detection, looking at the army tab here, it's going to be close, but it looks like Classic should be able to clean this up. It's going to take some time, though. He saves it. No, he doesn't save the natural. Natural goes down. He's down to just the main. And he's recalling everything back home to deal with this. He's breaking into his own main base. We have a handful of Hydras left over, which means these Tempests will kill everything eventually. But before they do, we're camping the production. We're depowering the Stargates. These Zerkers doing a great job at holding on. A bit of a miss rally there from those Hydras. They are going to go down for free. And again, this is going to get cleaned up. But throughout all of this, DRG, he's been amassing an army. He's been building up Corruptors, double expanding. The Lurker count is impressive. How many Lurkers? 14. We'll clean up the army. There's 14 Lurkers back at home. which is enough for the ground army, but what about the Tempest? There's 5 Tempests available here for Classic and a Mothership. We just used the Cloak ability, so that won't be available. We also just used the Recall. How many Corruptors? There's 900 Corruptors, no upgrades on them. With good enough storms, with good enough positioning, there is a world where Classic can maybe pick off or zone away these Corruptors, and then his Tempests can have their way with everything else. But Classic is on a timer. He's on 1 base. He's on 2 mineral patches. Like, Classic has no money. He's supply blocked. He's trying to rush into this gold. He does have a larger army than DRG. Bear that in mind. DRG not quite ready for this. Vipers are gathering up energy. Vipers, they could be the MVPs. We have 3 of them. We need to abduct that Mothership. We need the -300, -300. Oh, we get it! We do barely get it in the end. The feedbacks were not good enough. They weren't fast enough. Mothership goes down. How many Tempests are left? 5. 5 Tempests remaining. We still have another abduct. And we're going to get it. We get 1. Oh, the Vipers are taking a lot of hits, though. They do survive. And yeah, we're just forcing the issue, pushing up the ramp. Lurkers, they need a burrow. And we are down to 2 Tempests. The Lurkers are going ham, and it looks like DRG has done it. He cleans up the Tempest, cleans up the ground army. GG gets called, and DRG takes game number 1. Whew. GG. Oh my god. GG, well played. Oh my, that kind of went down to the wire there. Again, DRG was doing a great job when it came to crippling the economy. We saw him taking down base after base, getting the entire mineral line at one point as well. Kind of forcing the all-in out of his opponent. And yeah, able to take advantage of him in the end. Committed to the base trade, and as we saw, Classic just did not have enough to commit to said base trade either. He had to recall back home, clean up the army, but what did he really save? What did he really have left back at home? Just a couple of production buildings that he couldn't make use of because he was supply blocked. And yeah, with that, DRG takes the first game. It was a relatively passive start. Classic was harassing a little bit with Oracles, but for the most part, both players just kind of maxed out on their own accord. But DRG was the first to get into those lunkers. And here we go. Spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Hard Lead, we have the South Korean Protoss player representing Twisted Minds, the Red Protoss. It is Classic. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have a player that deserves to be on the team, currently teamless, the Blue Zerg player. It is DRG. I'm shaking my head. We've casted, even recently, DRG, he's been having his way with Beyond, he's been having his way in ZvZs as well. He was the ace player of WTL Summer for Team Abydos. And even here, looking damn good against Classic, at least in Game 1. It's still only Game 1, still could go either direction, but I bring this up all the time. You know, Gumiho found Cloud9, Cure found Team Liquid, DRG, still looking for a team. Yeah, I think he's like the only like top tier Korean player left that is looking for a team, and I hope he does find one. I hope he does find one. For now, though, we're getting into Game 2, and personally, I would like to see an ace match. I would like to see this go all the way to Game number 3, but it's going to be on Classic to bring it back. It's going to be on Classic to turn the tables. So far, a hatch gas pull out of DRG standard opener. Classic, of course, back at home, still going for a gate expand standard opener as well. Really, my eyes are on Classic's tech. You know, where does he go from here? He's typically a very aggressive player. This is also why I was a little bit surprised about last game. Last game on Alkyone, I know that it is a map that is centered around, you know, taking more bases and cutting the map in half and macroing, don't get me wrong. But Classic is known for his aggressive styles, and he played very passively, very straight up last game. You know, it was Stargate opener into Blink Stalkers, into a fourth, into double Robo Colossus production, into Sky Toss. Like, again, we didn't really see a lot of his patented aggression that we're used to seeing. And maybe that's where, I mean, I want to say that's where Classic's strengths lie. And that's not what we saw in that last game. So we'll see if Classic can bring it back here in more Classic fashion in game number 2. So far, show us the Stargate. And there it is, the Stargate is indeed on the way. Stargate is on the way here for Classic. Should be getting into an Oracle, but as I mentioned before, there is a build that Classic has been very fond of when it goes Void Ray first to rush into Skytoss a lot faster, and I expected him to do it at some point in this series. I was expecting Alkyone, to be honest. He has done it on hard lead before, but this is a more difficult map to pull this out on. The reason why I say that, if you're very tech heavy on a map like hard lead, the short rush distance by ground can kill you. We've seen a lot of 3-base all-ins from Zerg. We've seen a lot of Zerg players cut workers at 55 or at 66 and just make nothing, just go for like a queen walk across the map. You make roaches, make queens, you get your creep highway going, and you just send everything out and you break your opponent. So it can be really risky to be too greedy on this map. For now though, Adept does shade into the mineral line and does threaten the drones, but does not get a drone kill. Does get forced back. Meanwhile, back at home, that is going to be an Oracle opener, not a Void Ray here out of Classic, so very similar to the previous game. Yeah, there we go. It's going to be Oracle. Second Oracle's on the way. We should be expanding and taking a third base, and this should be leading into a standard transition. Classic. He's been reformed. He's been reformed in a way here, and I'm curious if this is just going to lead into a Forge and a Twilight Council for +1 and Blink, just like last game. Meanwhile, the Adept goes down. Lings, they even get the probe. Not bad pickups whatsoever. Oracle, they go into the natural base or into the third base, and there is no Spore. But we have Queens, and the Oracle only gets 1 worker kill. Lings are still across the map. They're trying to force the activation of the Pulsar Beam back at home. We are cutting spores entirely. We have 1 spore here at the third. Nothing in the main, nothing in the natural. We'll see if Classic can punish this. See if Classic can punish DRG as he tries to cut those corners. Gets a couple of tumors. Is gonna be maybe threatening these mineral lines. Does get into the natural. Gets 1 drone kill. Oh, gets a second. But takes a lot of damage. Oof. And does barely escape. As Classic escapes, there it is. Forge, Twilight Council is just +1 and Blink. Getting up to 4 gateways. Everything is looking normal. Normal for now. This can still lead into like an 8-gate Blink Stalker all-in as we go for a bit of a stronger gateway explosion. We're getting up to 6 gates. And this is a bit of a difference compared to last game as, oh, we get 4 more workers across the map. Again, the lack of spores is hurting DRG a little bit here. It is more standard at this level for Zerg players to get at least 2 spores, like 1 at the third and 1 in the main, and then you can focus your queens here at the natural. But yeah, DRG cut corners. Now he's getting the spore here at his natural base, but the drones are already dead. The damage has already been done. It's been 7 worker kills, not for a single Oracle, as they have all survived. So really good harassment here at a Classic, especially compared to last game. Remember, last game Classic killed 1 drone, I think, with his Oracles, and then he had to rely on stasis traps to get economic damage otherwise. And now he has joined all the forces. He's going to be going straight for that mineral line once again. Ooh, he will lose 1 Oracle, but he gets 3 more worker kills. Can we maybe snipe the art? It's so close. It escapes. Classic barely gets out of there as well, keeping 2 of them alive. Behind this, +1 and Blink. I mentioned before that we're up to 6 gateways this time, so it looks like Classic is going to be more assertive with his army. If you remember, I believe last game we only went up to 4 gates, and then we went into the second Robo and Colossus production. This time, we're committing to the gateway army. This thing run by is going to be a little bit annoying here for Classic. He does come back, but his Stalkers, they do move out. Oh, DRG is going to be skipping his Roach Warren. He's going Ling Hydra. Something that I thought he was going to be doing last game, but did go for the Roach Warren in the end, so a risky maneuver. There it is! Straight into Skytoss. Let's go. Now, this is not typically how Classic rushes into Skytoss, but he's getting there nonetheless. This is such a shame. Like, he's rushing into Skytoss, but his opponent happens to be going Ling Hydra, not Ling Roach. And has this been scouted? It hasn't. The Hydrogen wasn't seen, neither was the Infestation Pit. Because of this, DRG will naturally have anti-air. He will be ready for a low amount of Skytoss. And this is where I'm a little bit concerned for Classic. I say a little bit because we have a Hive and a Lurker Den on the way, which means DRG I don't think is planning on hitting a timing with Ling Hydra. It looks like he's going to be building up on Ling Hydra Lurker. It looks like he's taking up, just like last game, into Hydra Lurker Viper, essentially, into a more longer late game composition. which means I think Classic's going to be safe. Like, sure, there are Ling run-bys, but if there was a Hydra timing coming, and if DRG moved out with Ling Hydra, I think Classic may just die. But I don't think DRG really intends to be that aggressive and that assertive, but we'll see. As for now, DRG's drone up to 80. Ling's going to be threatening this third base. Ling Hydra deflecting these Stalkers. Meanwhile, there it is, carrier production well underway for Classic. And DRG just waiting for his Hive to finish up, working on his upgrades, waiting for that Lurker Den as well to invest into those upgrades as well. There it is, Lurkers are on the way, so DRG just trying to refine his army composition, which means Classic is successfully getting away with the Sky Toss. So usually the way this like kind of progression system works is that Classic gets into like robot production to Colossus and Storm, his opponent gets into Hydra Lurker Viper, and that forces Sky Toss out of the Protoss. Because Classic is already getting into Sky Toss preemptively, I would say that DRG tech-wise is a little bit behind. Hydra Lurker Viper isn't the worst thing against Sky Toss, but Spire is ideal. And Spire is what DRG wants to throw down as soon as he gets a scout. The problem is that he hasn't. Looking at the vision of DRG, he hasn't seen the main, hasn't seen the natural, hasn't seen anything. What I'm pointing out is that there has not been an Overseer scout. Until now. Overseers are on the way, and we need to get a read on what's happening. DRG, this scout is late, but at least it's going to be on the way, as I believe these Overseers are rallied across the map. Yeah, Overlord Speed is in production. Oracle is going to get sniped. But for the time being, we've just been banking up carriers. We have 2 already. We're about to hit 6. We're about to hit critical mass. And again, DRG still is in the dark. Changeling gets sniped. Overseer heading towards the main base. So far, the carriers still kept close to the chest, but with this scout, with the completion of Pneumatized Carapace, finally the Overseer gets in, and we see not much yet. But now we do. Fleet Beacon, 2 Stargates, carrier production. We don't know how many carriers there are, but we're aware. And immediately, Spire. Now again, this is a late Spire because this is a late scout. We already have 6 carriers. So this is the moment where Classic has a bit of a power spike, and there's a lot of pressure on DRG. Good revelation here on those Lurkers, and you can see the carriers having their way with them. 1, 2, 3 Lurkers going to be going down. They don't shoot up, but they have to get the hell out of here. Oh god, an expensive trade for DRG. That was 4 dead Lurkers for free, but at the same time, a big Link counterattack. No shield battery. Oh, there's a shield battery, but we don't take it down. The Nexus is going to fall. A nice pick off here from DRG, but he lost 7 Lurkers. He's trying to pull together his queens. Spire still isn't done. He has to rely on Hydras, and Classic, he's looking to snowball out of control. There's barely any anti-air. It's not going to be enough. Yeah, the scout of the Sky Toss was just too late. Every queen goes down. Spores are not going to finish, and it looks like this timing from Classic, it just caught DRG with his pants down. The pants, they were down, but he wasn't ready. Caught off guard. A couple more Hydras are trickling on in. And we're getting damage done. Can we get a carrier? Oh, we get 1. Can we get 2? We barely get a second as well. Big pickoffs. But again, this still has been a better trade for Classic. He does rally 1 carrier in. But queens are falling left and right. Up. We desperately need to try to focus another one down, but we cannot. We get the units tab again. We still have 6 carriers. Now, the Spire has completed. And DRG still has a good economy. He hasn't lost workers. Bear that in mind. He lost lurkers. He lost an expensive army. But he hasn't lost his economy. He's going once again for another counterattack. Corruptors should soon be on the way. Hydra's a bit out of position. And we're just pushing on through. So far, the Hydras is trying to stand their ground. But again, there just aren't too many of them. We do try to get on top of the carriers. We can get 1. But it costs so much to kill 1 carrier. That was like, what, 10 Hydras? Ay. We don't even have splash damage. Bear that in mind. We don't even have Storm or Colossus or Disruptors. Like, carriers head-to-head, they can focus down a low amount of Hydras like this. The Hydra count just is not high enough. Vipers are now on the way. We have a Spire, but even if we made Corruptors, there would be 0-0 Corruptors. Again, a lot of this does come down to the delayed scout. The late scout. Now here we go. Classic is going to be rotating around, still maintaining his position. Now, the one thing keeping DRG in this is the lower economy of Classic because he lost his base. Because the Nexus went down earlier, he was stuck on 3 bases, and even now he isn't fully saturated. But in saying that, Classic is maxed. Classic is still maxed out, and DRG is still working on it. Trying to build up his forces. Committed to Hydra Lurker Viper. A big reason for this is because of the lack of upgrades. We're working on +1 air attack. Sorry, +1 air defense. Flyer carapace, even. I think that's the correct term. But again, DRG knows that like vanilla 0-0 corruptors are not going to cut it. He just has to try to survive long enough to get into these upgrades. This Classic is pushing out. Spores getting in position. We have a pretty good defensive line here, but we rotate around and there are no spores. Again, DRG just not quite ready for this rotation. Big feedbacks. We get 1 yoink, but a massive storm. And this time we have splash damage. This time we have High Templar. Oh, they do fly too close to the sun. The Lurkers, they take down 3 of them. Another yoink. Not too bad. But we kill the base. Hatchery falls. 6 drones go down. We're looking for another reduction. Oh, but the feedbacks are too good. Classic, he did end up losing 2 of his carriers, so not the best trades. It was 2 carriers for 1 Viper, but he did kill the hatchery. Is hindering the economy here of DRG. DRG has a bank, that is true, but corruptors are quite expensive. This is basically his bank right now is a remax on corruptors. If he can get there. Meanwhile, Classic, I'm sure, wanting to build up his ground army a little bit more. We do have a second rowboat on the way. Likewise, second spy for double upgrades. +1 air attack on the way here for DRG. Flyer attack. We do deny another hatchery. DRG stuck here on these 5 bases, or 4 bases, really. Meanwhile, Classic is getting a 5th. He's getting ahead economically. He's ahead in workers. Working on shield weapons, air attack, air defense. How many carriers? 11! 11 carriers! Ay. Now, once again, this position is looking very vulnerable. We have a line of spores here. 1 spore here. There's only 1 spore covering this 5th base. And Classic should be able to rock up and knock this down again. DRG just a little bit late with the side defense just to buy time, not saying it would kill these carriers. As spores are falling, focusing down the lurkers as well. Big abductions though. We get 1, we get 2, we get 3, just barely, but the storms are insane. Oh my god, and the ground army of DRG is crumbling before the storms. And it looks like Classic has broken through. What is there left for our Zerg player? Corruptors and a handful of lurkers. And there just aren't enough corruptors. They only have 1 upgrade on them. And it looks like Classic is looking to tie this up and go to the ace match, as there's nothing to stop him. Even if his High Templar went down, GG gets called, and Classic takes game number 2, tying it up 1-1. GG, well played. Oh my god. We have a series, and again, that is all I ever want. We want a series, want this to go all the way to the ace match, and that's exactly where we're headed. As we were bringing up at the time, so we're getting ready here for our next lobby. As we were bringing up at the time, a lot of this did come down to the fact that DRG, he just wasn't able to recognize what was happening until it was too late. It just took a little bit too long to get the scout off. Just making sure I didn't get left behind. But yeah, it just took far too long for DRG to actually get confirmation. Remember, DRG already had a hive, he already had lurkers, he already had a 4th base before he went for the Overseer scout into the main. By the time he did, there were already 6 carriers on the field. It was just a very late scout from DRG, a very late reaction to it as well, so he had to immediately start working on his Spire and working on his upgrades, and he was just caught off guard by the Sky Toss. And now we're getting into the ace match. And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Oceanborn, we have the South Korean Protoss player, the Red Protoss, representing Twisted Minds, tying up the series 1-1. It is Classic. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zerg player being forced into the ace match here, fighting for his life, trying to bring down his opponent. Can he pull it off? It is DRG. Dongreku. And we're loading into Oceanborn. This is going to be an interesting one. Oceanborn does have a short rush distance by ground, similar to Hardlead, where I would have expected a more aggressive style, but we've seen something that has kind of permeated throughout this entire series from DRG. And from Classic as well. We'll get to Classic. From DRG, both games so far, he's been harassing, yes, with like Ling counterattacks and Roach counterattacks, but he hasn't been going for any of these committed pushes. He has been hyper-fixated on taking up into Hive and into Hydra Lurker Viper, both in Game 1 and in Game 2. This is the case. And very quickly, Classic was able to recognize that and abuse that, just by taking up and rushing into Sky Toss. Like, again, really a good adaptation out of Classic. And this is where I have to keep my eye on DRG and being like, okay, can we adapt to our opponents? Can we be more active and prevalent when it comes to our scouting? And can we adapt to what Classic is bringing to the table? Likewise, Classic has been having a really interesting playstyle as well. It looks like he has been respecting his opponent quite a bit, and we haven't seen, you know, these dedicated Stalker pushes, these 3-base all-ins, or yeah, even these favored ep timings that Classic has kind of had a lot of success with in the past. Classic, he's been going for Stargate openers into a 3rd base, into a 4th. Like, he's been, yeah, very macro-oriented this series as well. It's been really interesting to see both players kind of vie for the mid to late game in both games so far. It's interesting. You don't see that too often. Maybe I'm just like a little bit spoiled by Dark, because we cast Dark a lot on this channel, and Dark, he's like the polar opposite. He's just always in your face, you know, proxy hatching, going for these roach timings, full first openers. Like, Dark, he's an animal. He's so maybe I'm just used to hyper aggression here in this matchup, but yeah, it's been pretty passive so far. Like, things, don't get me wrong, things have been popping up as the game progresses, but the early to mid game, yeah, has been a lot more focused around harassing, less so committed attacks. Here we go. For now, Classic just going to be threading the shade towards that natural, getting a read on the saturation of this base of DRG. Likewise, Stargate opener once again, going into an Oracle first. Yeah, the Adept even commits to the shade, going into the main. The Queen not quite in position. We do manage to get a couple of lane kills, a couple of drones as well. Oh, don't quite get them though. Good control there out of DRG, pulling back those weakened workers and morphing into spores. Only lost 1 lane. Pretty good trade here from DRG. Very nicely done. Meanwhile, he's just getting into his 3-base setup. Likewise, we do have Classic sending out his first Oracle as well. As he moves out with the Oracle, he's taking his 3rd. Again, the same opener every game so far from Classic. Just Stargate Oracle into a 3rd. Nexus has been thrown down. We don't have WCS Game Heart, so I'm going to try to be a little bit more attentive to these Oracles, just to make sure we are aware when drones die. As we have DRG with 2 queens in the main, soon to be 3. We have 3 queens here at the 3rd. The natural's exposed, but there's nothing quite to kill there. And we'll see if Classic can make some magic happen. Remember, last game, how many workers did he kill? 7? I think he went up to 12 towards the end with his Oracle harass. He did a lot of damage with them. I'm sure that also led into a success in game number 2. Here we go, the Oracles, they dive into that 3rd base, and the Queens are out of position! No, the Queens not quite where they need to be. We go ham, and that is going to be 5, 6, 7 drone kills. Oh my god. 8 worker kills, and the Oracles barely escape as well, with a slither of HP. And they get joined by a 3rd. Adepts have arrived at the same time, a big link counter-attack. Adepts, it's their turn to be out of position. Pylon goes down, we deny the warp in, and we're looking to cancel that 3rd base. The Oracles, they're racing back home. Ay. Classic, he's done a lot of economic damage, but can he save this Nexus? He should be able to. The Oracles, they get here just in time. This base is going to be taking some hull damage, but we should save it. do barely save that base. Meanwhile, Adepts did commit to the shade. Looking at the units lost tab, 13 drones went down for 4 Adepts, and we tried to punish the 3rd base, but DRG wasn't able to get the kill. We have more Lings on the way. DRG, he wants to go for it. I don't think he can. I think he can if the Oracles move out, but because the Oracles are staying at home, yeah, there's no shot. A little bit too ambitious here by DRG. Backs off. Behind this, Twilight Council, Forges on the way, +1 and Blink. Once again, we have a slight gateway explosion. It's going to be, I believe, 6 gates in total. We have 2, 4, 6, 7 gates in total. A little bit more aggressive, actually, from Classic. Going up an additional gateway, and we're setting up a proxy. Let's go. This is a Classic that I know and love, not this kind of late game god that goes into Skytos that we've been seeing. That is an 8th gateway. We are not taking gases at the 3rd. We're cutting workers. This is a 3-base all-in. Blink Stalkers are all we need. 8 gateways in total. DRG, oh, he's checking. And he does come across the gateway. Big scout here for DRG. 2nd pylon gets thrown down. Classic, he's committed. There's no turning back. This is a timing that's going to hit with Blink and +1. It's nothing but Blink Stalkers, and this can very quickly snowball out of control. Warping in a massive wave of Stalkers across the map. DRG, he did scout the gateway. He didn't shut it down, but he's aware. He's focusing on his Roach production. He's supply blocked. 6 Overlords. 6 Overlords all the way. Now is not the time. Ay. Hatchery is going to be focused down. That's going to be a cancel, thankfully, not a kill. Classic, though, is going to keep on pushing. Does pick off a Roach. Shaves off some of those Lings. Pushing up this ramp is going to be a difficult feat here. Classic is getting back into pro production. He's trying to expand. He is transitioning out of this. But the Stalkers, they're going to keep on moving forward. Against this line of Ravagers, though, I don't think they can really break through. We are shaving off a lot of Lings, though. And again, we're containing DRG to 3 bases. The 4th just now on the way. Severely impacting the economy and the production of the Zerg. Classic, he dives on the army. He smells weakness. He dives on some of the Roaches, the Ravagers, and the Lings as well. Is going to be bleeding out a couple of Stalkers. Uh-oh. But he resets, almost resets the Ravager count. There's just too much Protoss here. DRG not quite ready for this. Oh, he misses with the fungal. Barely grazes 1 Stalker, but there's too many Stalkers in total. The boys are being pulled. But Classic, he has too much. And again, this is a Classic that I'm used to seeing. GG gets called, and Classic will take the series 2-1, advancing on to the next round. GG. GG, well played. Again, I appreciate that Classic was, kind of spreading his wings and spreading his horizons, playing these more macro-oriented styles in Game 1 and Game 2. But here in Game 3, the Classic of old. 3 base all in, 8 gateways. That's all you need, Bach. That's all you need. And again, DRG, he may have seen the gateway, but a big moment, a pretty crucial moment, actually, if you remember, DRG supply block. He scouted the all in, immediately got supply blocked. He had 6 Overlords on the way, and that meant that DRG did not have the army he needed to protect his 4th. The 4th immediately gets cancelled. Already damage is done, and DRG is up against the wall. Like, getting supply blocked, especially that heavily as well, when you're going for a Roach Ravager based composition, which is very supply heavy, which is very supply intensive. That's game ending. That is game ending there. So DRG, even though he had a slight heads up, he had a couple of seconds to react, was not enough, could not keep up, and congratulations to Classic. My condolences to DRG, but also a shout out to him as well, because hey, he did force Classic to the ace match, and that was a pretty back and forth series. There was a lot to delve into, and it was a lot of fun. It was great. It was a great first starting match. And from here, Classic advances on into the next round, and I need to slip into some DMs because we have another matchup ready for us.